Hello, this is a keyword video for Carl Serkin's Gender and Sexuality Studies class at Swarthmore College. I'm Evan and this is Isabel, and we are doing our keyword on gender performance. The main thing we want to focus on is gender performance in World Wrestling Entertainment. World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE, is a TV wrestling program in which wrestlers embody huge personas that the audience either loves or hates. These wrestlers compete against each other for glory and for various championships, although the matches and the entire program is scripted.
WWE wrestlers perform masculinity to the extreme, which we'll analyze in the context of Judith Butler and Weston Zimmerman's analyses of gender performance. We'll also consider what effects WWE may have on young boys and their construction of masculinity.
So let's get to it.
Hey! In her article, Imitation and Gender Insubordination, Judith Butler describes the process of gender performativity, in which gender is a kind of imitation for which there is no original. People constantly construct and repeat their gender performance in order to reach an ideal. But masculinity and femininity are actually just social constructs. Therefore, any attempt to embody gender is an imitation of an ideal that people will never actually reach. Because it is constantly repeated, people mistakenly see masculinity and femininity as objective ideals that exist in the world. West and Zimmerman highlight the continuous performance of gender. It is performed through social interactions. People judge others' gender based on these performances. In this context, gender starts to feel real because people give weight to its social meaning. In WWE, the wrestlers are performing gender to the extreme. They're mostly very tall with abnormally large muscles and perform hypermasculinity, both through their wrestling moves and through their aggression outside of the match itself. Since WWE is a performance for a live audience and a TV audience, it is reflective of an ideal of masculinity that will appeal to viewers, although we know from Judith Butler that this ideal doesn't actually exist. The interactive nature of the program, where wrestlers engage with each other, the referees, the managers, and the audience, allows the wrestlers to constantly reiterate their performance of masculinity in a social context, as West and Zimmerman describe.
Hello. As Isabel has said, Weston Zimmerman outlined the performativity of gender, and she so eloquently tied that to wrestling. Now, if we look at some actual examples of wrestlers in the ring, we can see this performativity of gender. As these pictures show, we have Hulk Hogan, who has a big power pose, pointing his finger or cupping his ear to listen to the crowd. His actions take up a lot of space, make sure to show his entire body, and are big gestural poses that are indicative of masculinity. The same can be said with John Cena's pose, with his hand in front of his face for the entire crowd to see, and the third wrestler who's shaking the ropes. That, again, is a big power pose emphasizing strength and masculinity. In this way, wrestlers embody the hypermasculinity that Judith Butler and West and Zimmerman discuss. Hello again. As we've discussed, WWE perpetuates ideas of masculinity and can have damaging effects on its younger male viewership. Michael Kimmel's article, What Are Little Boys Made Of?, discusses the emotional stoicism and increased depression rates in young boys. Kimmel explains that these negative effects are caused by privilege and male entitlement. Kimmel remarks that from an early age, boys learn that violence is not only an acceptable form of conflict resolution, but one that is admired. He also claims that cultural prescriptions equate masculinity with the capacity for violence. These ideas are absolutely perpetuated in the wrestling world. As is the nature of the show, there's never any peaceful resolution of conflict, and pretty much the only emotion that the wrestlers show is testosterone-driven rage. Wrestlers embody the stereotypical idea of the alpha male. Huge muscles, big gestures, and loud, violent emotions. Wrestlers embody the hyper-masculine identity that Kimmel says is damaging young boys, hurting boys, and continuing to preach that stoicism and violence are acceptable, if not ideal, ways of engaging with the world.
As we've shown, in all aspects of WWE programming, wrestlers perform gender to the extreme, presenting a hypermasculine identity that is ultimately socially constructed. This image of hypermasculinity has potentially damaging effects on young boy viewers and their construction of what it means to be male.
So think critically next time Raw is on. Isabel and Evan signing off.